Hello and welcome to week
21
of building Kamino. Sorry, I had to do that. Last week we worked on the medical room, which I think will be the only season 5 room in the mock. One thing I brought up within the episode is about this lamp, and if people wanted the lamp or didn't want the lamp. Turns out people did not want the lamp, so we're not having a lamp. But yeah, I'm happy with how this room turned out generally, and today we're moving up a level to hopefully create the prison of Kamino.
Move it, troopers! On the double! Fire!
Okay, so Kamino's prison was briefly seen during the premiere episode of The Bad Batch, where they all get locked inside there after failing to kill Saw Gerrera. And this is basically what I'm going to be building here. I'm going to be building the main outside bit, which you just saw, and then this interior room here. And I've got a really fun, reference and feature going on the inside of this wall, which you're going to have to stick around to find out, but I promise you, it'll be worth it. So yeah, let's get to building. Okay, so the most important thing about a prison is the actual prison cell door or wall. And as Kamino doesn't have actual iron bars, they've got this kind of laser shield type thing. And that's basically what I've got here. I've got some 1x2x5 bricks and a couple of these hinge plates on top to kind of give it that nice circular-ish angle that it does actually have in the episode. So now to build it like some kind of surrounding. Okay, so you can see here I've got this kind of white wall around the side, a lot of snot bricks on here because I'm going to attach more details later. And I've got some more of those hinge bricks going right along the side on the top to fully create that slight curved look. I'm planning to put some sand blue stuff on the snot bricks just to give it a little bit of interior color. If I spin this around for you and put those bricks on, you can actually see them there. So I've got these kind of weird wedge plates on to create a nice angle to try and give some kind of pattern to it. And it kind of looks symmetrical and nice-ish like that. I'm not a big fan of how the actual hinge bricks and plates look with those big round bumps in the middle, but what can you really do? That's just how the piece is, and that's how it's going to have to look, unfortunately. That's just how it works. But yeah, so I've got a mixture of tiles and regular plates for the wall detail, with also just a random ratchet joint, just because I wanted to do something a little bit different in there. And as I mentioned before, you can actually try and fold this in together just by pulling in the corners, because I do have a very small gap that I need to fit this room into. So this is very beneficial for that. But yeah, that's basically how the actual prison itself is looking. And this is what it looks like from behind. Just got some panels and whatnot just to, again, create that rounded shape, which I kind of want out of the wall. We're going to have to take a little bit of a break here because I just realized something. I just did something very intelligent and actually checked the reference material as to what I was actually building and realized that the walls in the prison are not white at all. They're much closer to a light bluish grey. The sand blue does still make sense, so I will still use that as well, but it is certainly not white. So I may have to make a couple of changes to this wall. Let's go and do that. Okay, here's the slightly revisited wall design. As you can see, it looks a little bit more simple, but it's certainly a lot more accurate with these kind of pillar pieces and then just the sand blue tiles to try and create some flat walls. I think it looks pretty good, especially when you double up and actually put this all together. It does look much closer to how the actual episode does, rather than what we had before, at least. So I think this is a pretty solid model. Yeah, I'm a fan of it. It's even got those white lines of the actual prison door, which it does in the real show. Again, like the last one, this can curve inside to create that circular look and make it nice and tight, which is pretty useful to me because it needs to go in a very small area in total. And I'm happy with it. Yeah, looks good. Another thing that I actually built for this room is this thing here. This kind of control panel type thing. It's quite prominent in that room. It's basically what turns on and off the door, hence a control panel. But yeah, so I'm just going to plop that in the middle, kind of. And I think that looks quite good. I'd have liked to get some reds on the side of the trans green stud, but this was the best I could do in the space that I had. But yeah, let's actually get it into the mock. Okay, now it's actually onto Kamino. You can see it's just above the barracks, and I've got a nice sand blue floor here with some 1x1 tiles all over the place, and just a rogue stud for a clone to stand on. And that clone is actually a very special one because it is this guy. the official Lego Phase 2 Shock Trooper. I very recently got this guy, literally within the last week. I found an absolute steal for him on Bricklink, so I'm super happy to put him in this mock. Behind the door, you can see back here, if I move my light up so you can actually see it somewhat, I've got some more tiles down here. This is where the Bad Batch themselves are going to stand, because this will be the interior of the prison, which we're going to work on now. Basically, in the Bad Batch episode, Omega escapes from the prison by crawling out of a hole in the wall. And I thought this would be a really fun section to incorporate an Easter egg into the mock. If you're at all familiar with LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga, or any LEGO game for that matter, you'll be familiar of these little orange hatches which small characters can crawl through to move to different rooms. And I thought I could build one of these hatches inside that prison section to, I guess, allude to the fact that Omega escaped through one, because she would be a short-legged character, which means she's allowed to use those. It's a very nerdy reference to those who get it in the game, but I think this is a really neat little inclusion to make. So I'm going to try my best to build one of those now. And this is what that looks like. It's kind of this hatch area. It's like a brown mainly with some orange bits on the inside and a dark bluish grey tile. It's going to go just behind there, behind that wall. And I think it's going to look really cool, just like to imagine that Omega's crawled through it to get above the actual prison itself. I don't have enough height in the prison to build Omega's room up there, but I think this is a nice inclusion anyway. But yeah, with that, that's pretty nice, I'd say. You can see here that I've added the other wall. It's not a perfect look in terms of how straight it is. It looks a little bit blocky, that wall, I'm not gonna lie to you. But when you look at it through the actual door itself, it kind of gets obscured and you can't really see it that well, but you can see the hatch, which is the important thing there. And then you can see there's a couple studs in there for me to put some minifigures in, such as Wrecker leaning against the hatch, and then some other figures there as well. And I think it'll look pretty cool. I don't know if I have enough studs for all of the Bad Batch members who are in that scene, because I don't want to overcrowd the room, but I'm just going to generally give the most important parts of the scene, if you know what I mean. Okay, now I've done the bit that ruins every single room I build on Kamino, is when I put a roof on it and cover up all the light. You can just see there's a big dark patch in here, pretty much, which doesn't look too great, so I need to switch on a light in here for you to actually see what's properly going on. You can see the Shock Trooper much better then, you can see that blue light in the background. I haven't quite got the Bad Batch themselves in yet, but that will be done at some point before the mock's finished. But yeah, I'm liking how this is looking overall. It's a pretty neat area, I'd say. You can see on top here I've got a Technic plate, so I can fit one of my lights in. I'm not going to switch on the light right now, because my light switch is under this complete mess, which used to be the training room. Don't worry, I'll fix that at some point. But there you have it. That's just about this week's episode of Building Kamino. And I think we got a good amount of stuff done here. As I said before, it is quite narrowed and squished down, because it's a really small room based off what I could have done here. But that was done for a very specific reason. There was a point where I was considering not building this room at all, but I knew that it was too iconic to the Bad Batch to not put it in. But this area next to it will be the Bad Batch's quarters. That's what we're most likely going to work on next week, if the right Bricklink quarters come in. And I've got some really fun ideas for that one, so definitely stick around to see that. But if you like this week's update, like the video. That's what the like button's there for. Comment your favourite thing we got done this week. For me, it has to be the hatch. That's just such a nice little neat reference. But let me know what it is for you. And subscribe if you're new, so you do not miss next week's episode of Building Kamino. And if you're new to the channel, check out the other episodes of Building Kamino, because they're a lot of fun too, to see how this gargantuan of a mock's come together 21 weeks in. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. As always, I really do appreciate it. And goodbye. Hello and welcome to the named clone section of this week's update of Building Kamino. Basically what the named clone section is every week I do at least one Kamino live stream, and in that stream there'll always be a section where I say, right, everybody who wants a named clone, and people in the chat just tell me what they want a character to be named after them and an accessory for them to have. And this is who we've got this week. First up, we've got Pork Schnitzel with a big pig, then we've got Jeff, then we've got Hannah, and finally we've got Sam, because someone wanted to name a clone after me, so that was cute, I guess. Thank you very much everyone, I'll see you next week, bye.